Have you ever felt completely invisible in your own family? I was scrolling through Instagram when I saw them. Every single person who mattered in my life was there, laughing, clinking glasses, celebrating my sister's engagement. My grandmother, my aunts, my cousins, even family friends I barely knew. Everyone was dressed up, beaming with joy, surrounding Sophia as she showed off her ring. The photos were perfect, the smiles genuine, the love palpable. Everyone was there except me. The person who should have been standing right beside her, holding her hand, sharing her happiest moment, her own sister. Before we dive into this story, I would love to know where you are watching from. Please hit that like button if you have ever felt like an outsider in your own family, and do not forget to subscribe for more real stories about complicated family relationships. Trust me, you will want to hear this one all the way through because I promise the ending will absolutely shock you. Let me take you back to understand how we got here. My sister Sophia and I are only 3 years apart, but we might as well have grown up in different universes. From the moment we could walk, our roles were clearly defined in our household. Sophia was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. She started ballet at age 4, piano at 6, and somehow managed to make straight A's, while still finding time to volunteer at the local animal shelter every weekend. Meanwhile, I was the creative one, which in my mother Margaret's mind translated to the problematic one. I loved drawing, spent hours writing stories in my journal, and yes, my grades were average. But average was not good enough in our house. Every report card became a comparison session. Why cannot you be more like Sophia? Why do you not apply yourself? Sophia never gives us these problems. My father, David, was quieter about his preferences, but actions speak louder than words. He attended every single one of Sophia's recitals, cheering from the front row. When I had my first art show at school, he was working late that night. When Sophia scored the winning goal for her soccer team, we went out for ice cream. When I won second place in the county writing contest, dinner conversation somehow shifted to Sophia's upcoming science fair project. I learned early on to keep my achievements small and my disappointments to myself. It was easier than watching my parents try to hide their lack of enthusiasm. But despite everything, I genuinely loved my sister. Sophia was kind funny, and she never asked for the pedestal our parents put her on. Sometimes I caught glimpses of guilt in her eyes when our mother would go on her comparison rants. 3 months ago, everything changed when Sophia bounced into our family group chat with a photo that made everyone's phones buzz at once. Her left hand was extended toward the camera, a beautiful princess-cut diamond catching the light perfectly. She was engaged to Jacob, her boyfriend of 2 years, who worked as a dental surgeon. Within minutes, the family chat exploded with congratulations, heart emojis, and immediate questions about wedding plans. I was genuinely happy for her. Jacob treated Sophia like a queen. He made her laugh until she snorted, and he never seemed intimidated by our family's intensity. I immediately called her, squealing with excitement and offering to help plan whatever she needed. Sophia sounded so happy, so grateful to have me in her corner. That is when our mother took over. Margaret had been waiting for this moment since Sophia turned 21. She started making lists, researching venues, calling caterers. This was going to be the engagement party of the century, she declared. No expense spared for her perfect daughter's perfect moment. I asked about the date so I could request time off from my marketing job downtown. I wanted to make sure I was completely free to help with any last-minute details. But every time I brought it up, Margaret became vague. Oh, we are still figuring out the perfect weekend. Nothing is set in stone yet. We want to make sure it works for everyone important. That should have been my first red flag. 2 weeks before what I now know was already the planned party date, I was at my parents' house helping my father fix their back porch railing. My mother asked me to grab her phone from the kitchen counter to show my dad a photo of the florist's arrangements. As I picked up her phone, A text notification popped up from my Aunt Patricia. The message read, "Should I bring anything special for Saturday's party? What time does it start again?" My blood turned cold. Saturday. This coming Saturday. I stood there staring at the phone, trying to process what I had just read. The party was happening in 2 days, and I had not heard a single detail about it. I walked back outside, phone in hand, trying to keep my voice steady. "Mom," I said, "Aunt Patricia is asking about Saturday's party." "What party?" The color drained from Margaret's face. She fumbled for words, then tried to grab the phone from my hands. "That is nothing," she stammered. "Patricia is confused about something else." But I had already connected the dots. The mysterious planning, the vague responses, the way conversations would stop when I entered the room. They were planning Sophia's engagement party without me. "Do not lie to me," I said, my voice starting to shake. "You are having Sophia's party on Saturday, and you were not planning to invite me." The truth came spilling out like water from a broken dam. "Yes," Margaret admitted, "we are having the party Saturday. And no, we were not planning to invite you." "Why?" The word came out as barely a whisper. My mother's face hardened into the expression I knew all too well. "Because you always cause drama at family events, Talia. You get jealous, you make everything about yourself, and we refuse to let you ruin Sophia's special day. You have always been the jealous one, and we did not want you making a scene." I stood there stunned into silence as my father nodded in agreement behind her. These were my parents talking about me like I was some kind of unstable stranger who could not be trusted around their precious daughter. I think about every family event they were referencing. My high school graduation, where I cried because my grandmother made a speech about Sophia's academic future instead of acknowledging my actual graduation day. Christmas morning, when I got upset because my stocking had drugstore items, while Sophia's was filled with expensive jewelry. My 21st birthday dinner, where my parents spent the entire meal discussing Sophia's college acceptance letters. In every single situation, my hurt feelings were labeled as jealousy, my emotional reactions dismissed as attention-seeking behavior. I had never made a scene. I had just failed to hide my pain well enough. I left that house with tears streaming down my face and did not speak to them for the rest of the week. Saturday arrived with perfect spring weather. I stayed home trying to distract myself with work projects and cleaning my apartment, but social media had other plans for my emotional state. By 11 a.m., the photos started appearing. First, it was my cousin Amanda posting a picture of the beautiful garden venue decorated with white roses and fairy lights. Then my Aunt Patricia shared a selfie with my grandmother, both of them dressed in their finest dresses, beaming with excitement. My Uncle Robert posted a video of the champagne toast, and I could see my father in the background, looking proud and distinguished in his navy suit. But the photo that broke my heart completely was the one Sophia posted at 3 p.m. It was a group shot of the entire extended family gathered around her and Jacob. My 85-year-old grandmother was seated in the front, her hands clasped happily in her lap. My parents flanked either side of the happy couple. Cousins, aunts, uncles, family, friends, even people I barely recognized filled the frame. The caption read, "Surrounded by all my loved ones on the most perfect day, feeling so grateful for this amazing family." I stared at that photo for 20 minutes, zooming in on every face, looking for some sign that anyone had noticed my absence. But everyone looked completely content, as if the family puzzle was perfectly complete without me. My phone stayed silent all day. No calls, no texts, no one reaching out to check on me or explain my absence to others. It was as if I had simply been erased from their lives for the day. My best friend Emma called that evening, furious on my behalf. She had seen all the photos too and could not believe what my family had done. "We are talking about your sister's engagement party, Talia. This is not some casual get-together. This is a major life event and they excluded you on purpose. Around 10 p.m., my phone rang. It was Sophia, and I could tell from her voice that she had been drinking champagne all afternoon. "Hey, sis," she slurred slightly. "I missed you today. Mom said you were busy with some work thing and could not make it." The lie hit me like a physical blow. Margaret had not even told Sophia the truth. I took a deep breath and told my sister everything. I explained about the text message, the confrontation with our mother, the real reason I was not there. Sophia went completely silent on the other end of the line. "Oh my God," she finally whispered. "Talia, I had no idea. I asked Mom why you were not there, and she said you had some big project deadline." I was disappointed, but I thought, well, you know how dedicated you are to your job. I felt a moment of hope that maybe finally someone in my family would stand up for me. Sophia continued talking, but her next words crushed that hope completely. "I mean, I will definitely talk to Mom about this," she said. "But, maybe she had a point about keeping things drama-free. You do tend to get pretty emotional at family stuff, and this day was really important to me." Even my own sister, the person I loved most in the world, was essentially agreeing with our parents' assessment of me. I was the problem, the one who needed to be managed and controlled to protect everyone else's happiness. We ended the call awkwardly, with promises to talk more later that never materialized. 2 weeks later, my life took an unexpected turn that would change everything. My boyfriend Ryan had been acting strange for days, insisting on dinner reservations at unusually fancy restaurants and suggesting romantic walks in places we never usually went. I thought maybe he was just trying to cheer me up after the engagement party disaster. On a beautiful Thursday evening, he suggested we visit the Rose Garden, where we had our first official date 3 years earlier. As we walked along the familiar paths, he started reminiscing about that first day, how nervous he had been, how he knew even then that I was special. When we reached the exact spot where he had first told me he was falling in love with me, Ryan got down on one knee. The ring was perfect, not because it was expensive, but because it was exactly my style. Simple, elegant, with a vintage setting that looked like it belonged on my hand. As he slipped it onto my finger, I realized that Ryan had been planning this moment for months, carefully choosing every detail to make it meaningful. For the first time in weeks, I felt pure joy. Someone wanted to build a life with me. Someone thought I was worth celebrating, worth choosing, worth making official promises to. That night, as we called his family to share the news, I watched Ryan's parents and siblings shower us with love and excitement over video chat. His mother cried happy tears. His father opened a bottle of champagne, even though we were not there to share it, and his teenage sister immediately started asking about bridesmaid duties. This was what family celebration was supposed to feel like. This was the love and support I had been missing my entire life. As we hung up the phone, Ryan asked the question I had been dreading. "When do we call your family?" I made a decision in that moment that felt both terrifying and liberating. "We are not calling them," I said. "We are going to plan our wedding our way with people who actually want to celebrate us." Ryan looked confused but did not push. He knew about the engagement party situation and understood that my relationship with my family was complicated. Over the next few days, we dove into wedding planning with the enthusiasm of two people who were completely in control of their own happiness. We chose a small, intimate garden venue that could accommodate about 30 people. We picked a date just 2 months away. We decided on a simple, elegant celebration with the people who truly mattered to us. I sent out beautiful handwritten invitations to our friends, to Ryan's family, and yes, to my extended family members. I sent invitations to my Aunt Patricia, my Uncle Robert, my cousins, even my grandmother. The only people who did not receive invitations were my parents and Sophia. When my mother called 3 weeks before the wedding, asking casually about my timeline for getting married so the family could start making plans, I felt a surge of power I had never experienced before. I told her calmly that Ryan and I were already engaged and getting married in 3 weeks. The silence on the other end of the phone stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. "What do you mean you're getting married in 3 weeks?" she finally sputtered. "Why did not you tell us? We need time to plan to get dresses to make arrangements." I kept my voice level and controlled. "Well, considering how the last family celebration went, I figured you would prefer not to be involved in this one either." "That is completely different," Margaret shot back. "That was about protecting Sophia's day from your tendency to create problems. This is your wedding. Of course we want to be there." And that is when I said the words that had been building inside me for 26 years. "You told me I was too jealous and dramatic to be trusted at family events. You said I always make everything about myself. You excluded me from one of the most important celebrations in Sophia's life because you thought I would ruin it. So I figured you would not mind missing mine either. After all, you would not want me making a scene at my own wedding." The explosion that followed was unlike anything I had ever heard from my mother. Margaret screamed, cried, threatened, and pleaded in the span of about 5 minutes. She called me selfish, manipulative, and cruel. She said I was destroying the family out of spite. She demanded I tell her the wedding date and location immediately. Instead, I hung up the phone and blocked her number. For the first time in my adult life, I felt completely free from their emotional manipulation. I was not going to spend my engagement period being guilt-tripped and criticized. I was not going to let them turn my wedding planning into another opportunity to make me feel small and unworthy. Ryan and I had the most beautiful 2 weeks of wedding preparation. We picked out flowers, tasted cakes, wrote our own vows, and enjoyed every moment of the process. My friends threw me a small bachelorette party that was exactly my style. Ryan's family embraced me completely, treating me like the daughter they had always wanted. Our wedding day was perfect in every way that mattered. The garden was blooming with late spring flowers, the weather was warm but not too hot, and everyone who was there genuinely wanted to celebrate our love. Emma stood beside me as my maid of honor, Ryan's brother served as best man, and we exchanged vows that brought tears to everyone's eyes. I wore my grandmother's pearl earrings, the ones she had given me years ago during one of our secret afternoon visits. I carried a bouquet of peonies and roses that smelled like heaven. Ryan looked incredibly handsome in his charcoal gray suit, and when he saw me walking down the aisle, his face lit up like I was the most beautiful sight he had ever seen. During our first dance, I realized I was not thinking about who was missing. I was completely present with who was there. The people surrounding us were the ones who had supported our relationship from the beginning, who had shown up for us in big and small ways, who deserved to witness this moment. But 3 weeks after our perfect wedding day, reality came crashing back in the most unexpected way. I was at work when my phone rang with a call from my Aunt Patricia. Her voice sounded strange upset in a way I had never heard before. "Talia, honey," she said, "I need to ask you something and I want you to tell me the truth. Did you get married recently?" My heart started pounding. How could she possibly know? Patricia continued before I could answer. "I just got off the phone with your mother and she is absolutely beside herself. She says you got married 3 weeks ago and did not invite the family." "But that cannot be true because I never got an invitation and I know you would have invited me." I felt the blood drain from my face as the pieces clicked together. "Oh my God, Patricia, I did send you an invitation. I sent invitations to you, Uncle Robert, all the cousins, even Grandma." The silence on her end told me everything I needed to know. "Patricia, are you saying you never received a wedding invitation from me?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Honey, I never got anything. None of us did. Robert, the kids, your grandmother, nobody got any invitation at all." She texted me a photo 5 minutes later. It was a picture of one of my beautiful cream-colored invitations, but the envelope was clearly marked "Return to Sender" in red ink. She had gotten it from my mother's mailbox that morning when she went to confront Margaret about the whole situation. My mother had intercepted every single invitation I sent to my extended family. She had collected them from mailboxes, probably claimed there was an address error, and kept them hidden. Then she had told everyone that I had gotten married without inviting anyone, making me look like the selfish, family-hating person she had always painted me to be. But this time her manipulation had backfired spectacularly. Patricia was furious. The entire extended family was furious. They had been hurt and confused about why I would exclude them from my wedding, especially after being excluded from Sophia's engagement party themselves. When they learned the truth about Margaret's interference, the family turned on her in a way I had never seen before. My grandmother called Margaret directly and told her she was ashamed to have raised such a manipulative daughter. My Uncle Robert sent a scathing text about family loyalty and decency. My cousins posted supportive messages on my social media accounts, apologizing for not reaching out sooner. And then my mother called me sobbing. I almost did not answer the phone when I saw Margaret's number. I had blocked her weeks earlier, but she was calling from my father's phone. Something in my gut told me to pick up, maybe because I needed to hear what she had to say for herself. The woman on the other end of the line was not the strong, controlling mother I had known my entire life. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her words. "Talia, please," she sobbed. "Please talk to me. The whole family hates me. Patricia will not speak to me. Your grandmother hung up on me. Even Sophia is furious. Everyone knows what I did, and they are all taking your side." For a moment, I felt a surge of satisfaction. Finally, everyone could see who she really was. Finally, the people who mattered knew the truth about how I had been treated. But as I listened to her cry, something shifted inside me. This was not the victory I thought I wanted. "Why did you do it, Mom?" I asked quietly. "Why did you take my invitations? Why did you lie to everyone?" She was quiet for so long, I thought she had hung up. When she finally spoke, her voice was small and broken. "Because I was scared," she whispered. "I was scared that if everyone went to your wedding and saw how beautiful it was, how happy you were, they would realize how wrong I was about everything. I was scared they would see that you are not the problem I always made you out to be." It was the first time in my entire life that my mother had admitted she was wrong about me. She continued talking through her tears. "I have been so afraid of you outshining Sophia that I convinced myself you were jealous and dramatic. But the truth is, I was the jealous one. I was jealous of your creativity, your independence, your ability to be happy without needing constant approval. I was jealous that you never needed me the way Sophia does." Margaret told me about the pressure she had felt from her own mother to have perfect children, about how she had projected all her fears onto me, about how she had convinced herself that protecting Sophia meant diminishing me. "I am so sorry, Talia. I ruined everything. I ruined your relationship with Sophia. I ruined your wedding day by taking away your extended family, and I ruined my relationship with you. I do not know how to fix this." I sat there listening to my mother take responsibility for 26 years of emotional damage, and I felt something I never expected to feel toward her compassion. The conversation that followed was the most honest one we had ever had. I told her about every time she had made me feel small, every comparison that had cut deep, every moment when I had needed her support and received criticism instead. She listened without defending herself, acknowledging each hurt I described. But I also realized something important during that call. Holding on to anger and resentment was not protecting me anymore. It was just keeping me connected to the pain. Over the following months, Margaret and I began the slow process of rebuilding our relationship. She started therapy to understand her own patterns and behaviors. She made individual apologies to every family member she had lied to about my wedding. She asked Sophia to be honest about how the favoritism had affected both of us. Most importantly, she started seeing me as I actually am instead of as the problem child she had created in her mind, Sophia and I had several difficult conversations where she acknowledged her role in enabling our mother's behavior. She admitted that she had often stayed quiet when she saw me being treated unfairly because it was easier than confronting the family dynamics. My sister and I are closer now than we have ever been. She sees me as a full person with my own value, not just as her problematic older sister who needed to be managed. 6 months after our original wedding, Ryan and I decided to have a second celebration, a small reception for my family. It was not about needing their validation anymore. It was about choosing to include them in our joy from a place of strength rather than need. My grandmother gave a speech that night about the importance of loving people for who they are, not who we want them to be. My Aunt Patricia cried happy tears while dancing with Ryan. My mother watched from across the room with a mixture of pride and regret that I recognized but no longer needed to fix. The most important thing I learned from this whole experience is that sometimes the only way to be loved properly is to stop accepting love that hurts. Setting boundaries with my family was not about punishment or revenge. It was about teaching them how to treat me with respect. I learned that I do not have to be perfect to be worthy of celebration. I do not have to be just like my sister to deserve my family's support. I do not have to minimize myself to make other people comfortable. But I also learned that forgiveness does not mean forgetting or pretending that hurt never happened. It means choosing to release the grip that past pain has on your present happiness. My relationship with my family will never be the fairy tale I once hoped for, but it is real now in a way it never was before. We see each other clearly with all our flaws and limitations, and we are learning to love each other anyway. Ryan and I just celebrated our first wedding anniversary last month. We had dinner at the same restaurant where he proposed, and we talked about how much we have grown in just 1 year. I told him that marrying him was not just about finding my person. It was about finally understanding that I deserved to be chosen, celebrated, and loved without conditions. Sometimes the boundaries we draw are not meant to divide us from the people we love. They are meant to teach those people how to love us correctly. The strongest relationships are built on a foundation of mutual respect, and respect sometimes has to be demanded before it can be given freely. If you have ever felt invisible in your own family, if you have ever been told you are too sensitive or too dramatic for wanting to be treated well, I want you to know that your feelings are valid. You deserve to be celebrated. You deserve to take up space. You deserve to be loved for exactly who you are. Has anyone in your family ever made you feel like the problem when you were really just asking to be treated with respect? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. Please hit that like button if this story resonated with you, and do not forget to subscribe for more real stories about family relationships and finding your voice. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that they are worthy of being celebrated just as they are. Thank you for listening to my story and for being part of this community where we can talk honestly about the complicated parts of family love. I hope that wherever you are in your own family journey, you are learning to honor your own worth and surround yourself with people who see your true value, true